So now that we've built the unit circle for the radian measures, let's fill in the actual coordinates for all of these key points. Now I'm going to start with the four, what I think are the easiest ones. And that's all of the points that are on the actual axes themselves. So remember, the unit circle is one radius, so it's a radius of 1. So it's going to be 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. So those are the 4 points that don't have reference angles. They're just on each of the axes themselves. So that's that set. Now for the set of 30-degree angles. So any of the over 6, okay, so that's the denominators of 6, will have a reference angle of 30 degrees. Now we're trying to figure out what x and y are. Well, remember, first page that we did on this note sheet, remember your x value is cosine, your y value is sine. So I'm going to put that up at the top as a reminder. So x is equal to the cosine of theta and y is equal to the sine of theta. So every point on the unit circle is cosine theta, sine theta. Now, to help you remember, it's in alphabetical order. That is literally the only way I ever remember that. It's alphabetical. So if I look at the chart that we had, I need the sine and cosine of 30 degrees. Well, cosine is cosine is root 3 over 2 and sine is 1/2. So cosine is root 3 over 2, sine is 1/2. Now, every angle that has a denominator of 6 will have the exact same coordinates, except we've got to pay attention to, are they positive or negative? So in the first quadrant, everything is positive. So all of your values are positives. Yes, there's a reason that A is huge. So root 3 over 2, 1/2. So if I transition to the second quadrant, I've got a negative x value, except I just put the wrong number there, negative x value, and a positive y value. So in the second quadrant, my sine value was positive. So I'm going to put that. Let me slide on down to third quadrant here. This is going to be my over 6, so my denominator of 6 here. Same exact coordinates, except now both of the sine and cosine are going to be negative. Now, if sine and cosine are both negative, that actually means that tangent is positive. And last set here is going to be quadrant 4. So my x value is going to be positive. My y value is going to be negative, which means cosine is positive. Now, what I will stress is these first letters, A, S, T, and C. I will use those repeatedly this unit to figure out various angle measures or the positive and negative part of it. In the first quadrant, everything is positive. In the second quadrant, sine is the only thing that's positive. Third quadrant, tangent is positive, and fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive out of your trig ratios. Now, that doesn't include the reciprocal functions, but that's not necessarily something we deal with too often. All right, so we have figured out the 30-degree angle references. Let's talk about the 45-degree angle references. Now, the nice part with the 45s is sine and cosine are the same values. So it's root 2 over 2 and root 2 over 2. So let's go ahead and slide that in here. So root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. And in quadrant number 1, everything's positive. If I transition to quadrant number 2, my sine value is positive, but my cosine value is negative. So that takes care of quadrant 2. Slide on down to quadrant 3, so 5 pi over 4 has the same coordinates, but both of them are going to be negative this time because they're both in the, so x is negative and y is negative, and to make tangent positive. 7 pi over 4 is my reference in quadrant 4. So my x value is going to be positive, so root 2 over 2 and negative root 2 over 2. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead and use our table of values to fill in the 60-degree angles. Or all of the angles that reference 60, which would be anything with a denominator of 3. So cosine of 60 is 1/2, sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. So 1/2 root 3 over 2. So that's going to be negative 1/2 positive root 3 over 2 in quadrant 2. Quadrant 3, both of your values are negative. And in quadrant 4, only the y value is negative. In that case, it would be sine is negative. So let's see, 1/2 and then negative root 3 over 2. When in doubt, I would highly recommend, I've said it before, but memorize this thing. Okay, I'm going to add 3 more pieces of information to the chart because I memorize this. I do not memorize the unit circle at all. All right, and I can generate this chart quickly. So the 3 pieces of information I'm going to add to the chart, that's going to be the radian values for these degrees. 30 degrees is pi over 6. 45 degrees is pi over 4, and 60 degrees is pi over 3. This information is a lot of what I'm going to be using to solve a lot of problems. Now, obviously, the unit circle is great. It's wonderful. It's dandy. But you won't always have one necessarily. Or if you do, knowing how to find information that's not on the unit circle is also beneficial. So that's something that we're going to be working through this unit. These 2 pieces at the bottom are just to show you the difference between the 30-degree angle and the 60-degree angle for reference. I use the chart instead, so that information is fine. You don't have to fill in the bottom notes. All right, so this is the full, complete unit circle, how it was built, including angles and all of the coordinates.